welcome back to another episode of We Read It One Night. We are still on our hiatus, but we are bringing you part 1 of our episodes on Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This book is for the baby gays everywhere who are discovering their sexuality and falling in love. We had so much fun talking about this, so don't forget to listen to this and then check out part 2, which will be linked in the description of this episode. And while you're listening and while we're on our hiatus, please leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening. It really helps us out. It's the best way to support this podcast in a totally free and quick way. And then you can also support us by checking out our Etsy store, which is linked in the description. And we are constantly adding new cat-loving, queer, etc. designs every week. Enjoy the show. Rounding out Pride Month this month with The Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, which is, I would say, most people's like gateway queer romance. Like it was like one of the first, I mean, obviously not the first one, but it was like the first like smash gay romance hit. And it was my gateway queer romance. And there's like a line in it about like where the main character Alex is like thinking about how he's bisexual. And that was when I was like, oh yeah, that's me.
I read this book like a year ago and managed to forget like basically every single thing about it because I was like shocked that Alex was the one who like didn't know he was bi at the beginning. I was waiting for it to. I was like, wait, why is he like why hasn't he talked about any of the boys he's hooked up with? Like, and I was waiting for because I thought because when they were talking in the beginning, I was like, oh, so Alex is like totally flirting with Henry, like he's like trying to like see if he can make a move, and then the whole time it was Henry.
I mean, but the whole book, Alex is constantly having moments where he was like, how did I not realize that I liked men?
Yeah.
So, like, he definitely was flirting with Henry. He just didn't realize
it. Well, that was me. I was like, wait, how could he not have realized you like
you dumbass. Alex really isn't.
And the whole thing is just his perspective. It's single perspective. So we don't get Henry.
First, it's present tense. It's present tense, third person present tense, which is how Casey McQuiston does. Casey McQuiston uses she, they pronouns. So just flagging that. Yeah, like that's like their signature like writing thing. And it pisses a lot of people off. You want to wait for the
siren?
Oh yeah.
Okay, God.
All day since starting at like 4 p.m. there have been hooligans driving their loud cars up like the muscle cars. Like they're like revving their engines up and down the street. And I'm like, God, what are you doing? We're in Midtown. Why have you come here to do this?
Anyway, it pisses people off.
Oh yeah, Casey McQuiston uses like that's their like signature thing, third person present tense, and a lot of people don't like it, and I guess I just like don't really care that much about like
I just don't even know
the tense or like the POV. Like I just don't really notice that much. Like I definitely remember when I first started this, I was like, oh, that's weird because I think it was the first time I'd read a book, but like I was like, this is fine.
First time you'd read a book.
I mean, first time I'd read a book. So first, I never fucking learned how to read, Rachel. This is how I learned how to read.
Is it the Hunger Games or Divergent that's written in present tense?
Hunger Games is present tense first person.
But that's the only time that I remember like noticing it and being like mad about it, but only because I like already developed trust issues by that point, and I was like, all right, well, if it's in fucking present tense, we can't count on the fact that the main character is going to survive. Like the main character might die, so I don't trust you, Suzanne Collins.
In fact, that is what happens in Divergent.
Right. I actually think Divergent might not be in present tense though, and yet she still pulls that shit. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that people. Yeah. So I don't really like care that much, but I've seen people who are like third person past tense like all the time, and that's like she went to the store. That's what past tense is, and then this is like she goes to the store is third person present tense. Mm-hmm. So these people are like third person past tense, like missionaries, and for third person present tense, they'll be like, it's weird because it's like some omniscient random person is just like watching and like stalking the characters all the time and like narrating what they're doing. And I'm like, you guys are thinking way too much about this. The more I read third person present tense, the more I like dig it.
Yeah, it feels urgent. Like it feels more snappy in a way. Like I didn't even realize that until we just had this discussion. But like, It feels like they're in a rush constantly, kind of, but like not in a bad way.
I've read many Twitter threads on this, and every time I'm like, you guys, this is not the hill to die on. Like, you need to simmer down. There are a lot of other things that you could be mad about. But yeah, so this book is also it's getting a movie on Amazon Prime, and they just announced the cast, and really? Yeah, they announced the whole cast, and I mean, I think they did a pretty good job casting, but the only one that matters to me personally is the president, who is played by Uma Thurman.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And particularly apt because the president is constantly threatening Alex, her son, with like bodily injury, like in like a loving way. But every time I just picture like Uma Thurman and Kill Bill, like every time one of those scenes happen, it's like Uma Thurman in the background.
Who's Alex then? Because how are they gonna?
He's like a relatively like both Alex and Henry are like, I'm sure that they've been in stuff. I've never seen them in stuff before. I think they're like up and coming, like new 20s actors.
He's 30 years old.
All right, whatever.
Taylor Zakar Perez. I'm just wondering how they're gonna make Uma Thurman's son be like average height, but maybe they'll make the dad short. No, the kid is 6'1". They didn't make him average height, whatever.
And then also this version, because we obviously listened to the audiobook. If you are still surprised by that at this point, I can't help you. We listened to the audiobook and...
Oh, sorry. I just looked up the Henry actor. I really don't like that.
They dyed his hair.
No, it's the face. It's his eyes.
The initial pictures I saw of him were weird, but people did some on-set photos. And
he looks like Macaulay Culkin, Macaulay Culkin, if Macaulay Culkin was a serial killer, like who's about to murder me.
Oh my God.
No offense, but like full offense.
All right, I'll link the cast list below.
Oh God, mixed with
so
like Dylan Sprouse, but like in the worst possible way.
I'll post the cast list below. You can make your judgments. I think overall they did pretty well. In the audiobook, they recently
who's the Queen of England? Oh, Betty White's dead.
I don't know. I think she's just a random like white lady. They released in like a recent reprint of the book, they edited out all the Harry Potter references, which were still in there in the audiobook because they usually like don't change audiobooks unless there's like really significant changes, which I really appreciated because anytime I read a queer book that's been published recently that has like Harry Potter references in it, I'm like, are you kidding? Are you joshing me right now? Like if there's like a really popular, and I won't say the title of it, but like a book that like came out in like 2019, 2020. And like every other interaction the characters have is like them making Harry Potter references. And I was like, who allowed this in the year of our Lord? Like who allowed this queer book to be published? I mean, I just think in general, remove the Harry Potter references. But yeah, some people were like butthurt about that.
What I will say is that, I mean, this book is like chock full of pop culture references, but it somehow, I don't know what it was about it, but like so often that kind of thing feels like forced and just like, I don't know, like cringy, but it didn't feel like that. It felt very natural throughout, I thought. So without further ado,
the premise of this book is that the first son of the first female president of the United States falls in love with the Prince of England, who is not the heir to the throne. I have a bone to pick about this.
Oh, for sure.
It's insanity. Actually, let's just do this now.
Yeah.
So many times throughout the book, they're constantly like, oh, Henry's an heir to the throne. And I'm like, he has an older brother.
And sister.
So this universe both takes place, like references stuff, because like the president before President Claremont in this was Obama. So like regular history exists. Like everything is the same except for the British royal family, which is just all made up people. Like it's just all new people. And presumably it's like the queen, and then she has one daughter who's princess, and then the daughter has 3 kids, Philip, Beatrice, and Henry. Henry is not gonna inherit. His older brother got married, is like gonna produce children. Like he's not gonna fucking inherit. And I was very annoyed every time they said he would. Like he was an heir to the throne.
Yeah.
And even more horribly, they kept calling him a Prince of Wales. And I was like, the Prince of Wales is a very specific title that belongs to the direct heir to the throne. So his mom is Princess of Wales because she's the next in line. He is not the Prince of Wales, nor will he ever be the Prince of Wales. And like, I understand where Casey McQuiston has gone wrong, because Prince William and Prince Harry, like a lot of times despite like the royal family's name being Windsor, a lot of times in the common, whenever they just have a first and last name, they're like William Wales and Harry Wales because their dad is the Prince of Wales. Mm-hmm. So I understand where she may have gotten confused. But I was like, God, no, stop saying this. Every time it happened, I wanted to hurl myself. I was like, this is the most basic of research. Like, all you have to have done is like heard of Princess Diana to know that Henry would not be the Prince of Wales. And that's why the first time I read this book, I was so confused for like 75% of the book. Because I was like, wait, is Henry going to be the king? Like, the king
is Philip like
Philip?
younger?
Who the fuck is
married?
Philip?
Like, yeah.
I was so confused. Oh.
Maybe Philip is younger, and like we're just assuming he's older because he got married first and is like a bossy pants asshole.
He's definitely older.
Yeah,
that's rant over.
Yeah, it was really dumb. They just kept saying like how he needed to like. Well, and that's the other thing. I spent the first like 3/4 of this book thinking that it's going to be like a problem that they're together. Like they're going to keep it secret for a while, right?
Obviously.
And I thought the problem was like, yes, they're gay. Like, okay, that's like something the royal family is going to try to keep hush hush. But I thought like an equally big problem was that it would be like, I don't know, like conflict of interest for like Alex's mom to be president and then he's dating, right. Right. That turns out to not be a problem at all. However, which makes sense because then I had a brain blast like when I was almost on the book. I was like, wait, that's like literally what they did like for all of history. They would just like have like people from different countries marry each other. Like that was like the thing to do, you know? Which like how was that? I don't know. I guess it was an issue that people would be like, oh, we don't want like Spain controlling us or whatever. But like
yeah, they were also like, oh, Henry has to get married and produce heirs. And I'm like, again, why? Like, even if Philip doesn't manage to have kids, Beatrice is right there. She could also have kids. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Why does Henry need to have kids?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just dumb. Well, we do know that Philip doesn't like kids, so maybe Philip actually has, like, this whole secret plan to, like, not have kids, and that's why that's the real reason he's such a busybody. Yeah. Pip. The one thing Philip has going for him is a cute nickname.
It's true. He definitely never uses it, though.
No, they call him that, though. But yeah.
They call him Pip?
Yeah, they do. Oh. I didn't come up with that. I didn't even know that was a nickname for Philip.
Well, I knew that, like, Philippa is Pippa. His nickname.
True.
Pip makes sense.
Yeah. If only Philip wasn't such a terrible name.
I didn't like the name Philip. I don't like the real Prince Philip. He was also a dick. Do you think Casey McQuiston named him Philip after the real Prince Philip because they were both,
a weird
like,
choice. Yeah.
Horrible.
It's a weird choice. Yeah. Like, why did she, like, why keep some of the real names, but, like, not?
Right. That's also why I was confused because Prince Harry, obviously Prince Harry's real name is Prince Henry.
Mm-hmm.
That's his birth name. So I was like, oh. And I love Casey McQuiston, like, basically, like, Alex basically, like, Meghan Markle's Henry. And I was like, this was before, like, Meghan Markle and Harry escaped. So, like, Casey McQuiston, like, predicts that, like, person of color comes from U.S., shows,
True.
Like, royal family second son that he, like, doesn't have to be entrapped by this thing and, like, whisks him away.
Yeah, because also, that's the other thing is, like, at one point Henry's like, oh, I'll just abdicate. Like, if I have to, I'll just abdicate. Is that a thing? Can anyone in line abdicate? Because, like, imagine you're, like, 30th in the line and you just, like, it's just the most dramatic, like, the fact that you have such a dramatic move in your back pocket that whole time. You just abdicate. You're not even king. You're not even queen. You just, like.
No. I mean, it's not abdicate. It's just you remove yourself from the line of succession. It's like that one, who is that? We were looking at that one guy who's, like, I don't know, 15th in line. And he's, like, he's like Roman Catholic, so he can't be.
Oh, they
king.
do. So it's like a lot of people, yeah.
Well, because it's
confirmed,
the head of the Church of England. It makes sense that you can't be part of a different church if you're going to be the head of the Church of England.
Yeah, that bitch that everyone really likes in our polls that I'd never heard of, but it's like apparently very popular. You know who I mean? Amelia or something? Windsor.
Spencer? Oh, Amelia Windsor.
Is it Amelia? I don't know, but I think she got removed for getting confirmed as a Catholic.
Yeah, it's also the guy that almost won. The beard man, not the twink. The beard man is like Roman Catholic, and he's like the highest person in the order of succession. That like
the derpy beard man. Yeah. Whoever, if you're listening to this and you voted for him that Instagram poll, like shame on you.
What is his name? Something Windsor.
Derpy McDerp Derp. Edward Windsor. I mean, it's my fault because I picked the best picture of him, but I still didn't think it was very good. Like,
Look up his Wikipedia page. Oh,
no.
man. But he's like, he looks like, you know, Junie from Spy Kids. He's like that, but like a million times worse.
Oh, wait. Speaking of, I'm glad that Spy Kids came up organically because like halfway through this book, I had what I thought was a total brain blast. I was like, oh my God, the siblings, the first family siblings are Alex and June, and they're Mexican, just like the Spy Kids. And then I had to realize that their names are not Alex and Junie. What the fuck are their names? But what is the girl's real name? Their names are Carmen and Junie, but it's Alexa Vega. Alexa Vega plays Carmen, which I think is why I thought it. But
yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
close. Yeah, maybe this is all just an elaborate like Spy Kids AU.
Mm-hmm.
Headcanon confirmed. I feel like we're like talking about a lot of stuff in the book. We still haven't really set up the structure. Okay, so here are our major players. We have President, I don't know her first name because I always wrote it down as just Alex's mom. President Claremont. She is the first woman president of the United States. And I'm going to digress again. I just want to say parts of reading this book were supremely, supremely painful because it really, I mean, like, it's a good thing it's about a fucking prince and they're constantly making fairy tale references because it's like, once upon a time, there was a golden version of America in which we had a woman president and she had biracial children and she was divorced and also like the majority of the country supports queer people and sexual predators get called out and punished. I was like, what is this? This is a mystical land, and especially like right now with like all the shit. It wasn't as painful the first time I read it, but it's just like right now it's not funny. Supremely painful. And at the end, like during the election, I was like, this is giving me war flashbacks to like Clinton versus Trump in 2016. Like I'm feeling really triggered right now.
Here's the thing though, what's stopping Uma Thurman from running for president?
I don't know.
She's an actress. And she's married to French
She
guy.
was married to Ethan Hawke, and their daughter's in Stranger Things. Their daughter's Robin in Stranger Things.
Who's Robin? Oh, no way. Really?
Yeah.
How interesting. Wow. Anyway, Uma Thurman, 17 million. What year is it?
Joe Biden should just concede to Uma Thurman right now.
Yeah, whoever you are out there planning to run, just make it easier.
Put Uma Thurman on the ticket.
Please.
We've already elected 2 actors. I don't know why we can't elect a 3rd. Anyway, okay, so it's President Claremont. She has 2 kids with her ex-husband, who's also a senator. And their names are Alex and June Claremont Diaz. And
not in that order. June's older.
No, right. June's the older sister, whatever. They're all from Texas. They're all like really obsessed with being from Texas. That's important. Just keep that in mind later. They have a bunch of support staff who were mentioned. They also have a best friend, Nora, who is like the vice president's granddaughter. And she's like part of the White House trio TM.
Yeah.
And then there's Henry, and he's the youngest son of Princess Catherine, and her mom is Queen Mary, and he has 2 older siblings. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. There you go. Major players.
And for some reason, the White House trio like all lives in the White House. I mean, Nora doesn't, but even though she's the granddaughter, she gets to like hang out and do everything apparently.
It's basically implied that like the reason they all live in the White House is because of Alex. Because like June is like, June has been classic older sister parentified, but also like Alex is just such a mess that both June and Nora are like.
Nora doesn't live
No, but she moved to DC.
Yeah.
She transferred to DC to like Georgetown or like wherever she goes. Like she transferred to a DC school because they're both like, yeah, Alex, he's far too much of a mess to be left like to his own devices in the White House. Like we gotta move down. Yeah. And the reason, I mean, so Alex is still in college at the beginning. He like graduates like halfway through the book. And he's like 20, so he's like 22. And this book a lot of times gets categorized as YA. And it's like, it's obviously not. Like, they're adults, there are like explicit sex scenes. It's not YA, but there are elements of it that like feel YA. And it's like, so there's like an interesting debate about how like books by women, queer books, and then especially books by queer women are all often like miscategorized as YA, even if they're very clearly not YA. It's like a, sexism and like queer phobia problem in like book selling. And this book is always used as the example. And I'm like, yeah, but I remember the first time I tried to read this book, I gave up after chapter 1 because there's just something about the very first chapter that feels very much like this is a 16-year-old kid. Like the vibes that were just, I was like, he feels like a child. And there are elements of it. I mean, because like, yes, he's in college. Yes, he's like a legal adult and like they drink and shit. But like, it's very much like those themes of like, okay, like what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to transition to adulthood? Like, I'm still technically in school. So like, I guess it's like technically new adult, just like new adult doesn't really exist in traditional publishing.
Which is so weird because it just seems like such a like,
they tried to make it happen and it never caught on.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know either. Something that I thought was funny that we learned in the first chapter is that apparently the entire like suite where the first family lives, and did I read this wrong? I definitely listened to it. I went back and listened to it twice. The entire suite used to be one visitor suite for the Marquis de Lafayette. Like, what? What? We just crammed our whole first family into some French guy's like guest house. Like, what?
Okay, but do you understand the Marquis de Lafayette?
No, I
we're
don't.
talking about gay icons like the Marquis de Lafayette. Like he's like, I'm not staying in one bedroom. I literally want a whole fucking house within your White House, and like that's what you're gonna give me because I'm the reason you won the Revolutionary War, which he is because he got France to support them.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, I was like, this is complete. I was like, I don't know. I didn't verify whether that's true, whether like the first family does live in like the Marquis de Lafayette's former giant suite, but I was like, I believe it fully. Like it checks out historically for sure. And the book starts out like the very first line is like there's like somewhere on the roof of like the White House, like beneath a loose panel, one of the first children carved, what is it, like don't get caught, like, or something like that.
Yeah,
like, it's like it's basically just like do what you want, but just like make sure nobody finds out, which was very much like that's the theme of this book.
Yeah.
In case you forgot, you're like, okay, so if there were any doubts in your mind, they're definitely gonna get caught. Like, absolutely gonna happen. Thank you,
yikes.
Oracle of Delphi. Like prophecy delivered.
Yeah. So where should we launch into it? They're going to the royal wedding, which is the aforementioned Prince Philip, Prince Pip, if you will, marrying Martha.
Which is a very not, I don't know, that just doesn't seem like the name of like someone.
I was gonna say it's extremely
Martha.
extremely on the nose. Like Martha just maybe because I've recently been thinking about like how Martha Stewart does not actually own Martha's Vineyard. And both of those like
for so long.
Yeah. Both of those like people and location like feel so like bougie and just like white airy linens, like Cape Cod, but like British, you know, like I can totally see it. But I can also turn a different side of my brain where Martha is like earthy and like farm worker.
Right. It feels too like
stout,
old American lady specifically.
Maybe. I really like that name the more I think about it. But I don't like it that much because I can always like flip the switch, you know. Not that.
Yeah. Okay, so we start, so just like before to like set up, Alex is obsessed with politics. He's like, I'm gonna be the youngest senator ever.
Oh yeah, he's so obnoxious. I hate people like that.
I mean, he grows.
I know. No. It's more just like I think I'm just thinking of like specific people I've known like that have all been like bad people.
Yeah, I feel like generally that type of person, like
smarmy ass. Yeah. So.
Right. And then June like wants to be a reporter, but obviously like can't because she's the fucking first daughter, and like no one's gonna let her report on like political issues.
Right.
And also at the end, I'm just gonna bring this up now. At the end, like she's like, I got the book deal. And I was like, do you remember them mentioning the book deal before the very end? Because I was like, what book deal?
No, the only thing I remember is like one time then Alex being like, I wonder if I tell June about my thing with Henry, if it'll make it into her memoir. So it's like a fucking memoir.
Yeah, it's a memoir. But I was like, what? Like, I have no memory. Like, I know she's like a writer. Like, that's her thing. She like sometimes writes speeches for her mom and things like that. But I'm like, okay, anyway. And June like she doesn't like politics. She just like kind of wants out. She's like not into it. And then Nora is basically just like a supercomputer.
And Nora and Alex like dated briefly, but then they also just like pretend to date sometimes to fuck with the press and like cause
but they're just like friends. They were like, this doesn't work.
They're all best friends. Yeah. Okay. So
wait. So, I'm sorry. Before the rest, I have a lot of notes for this. So there's a Secret Service agent. Her name is Amy. She is a former Navy SEAL, and I think she's like a trans woman as well. But Alex is like, she's a former Navy SEAL who's rumored to have killed several men. And I understand the spirit of this line. You know, it's like badass woman who's like, oh, like she's mysterious. She may have killed several men. We don't know. But I was like, she was a Navy SEAL. She's definitely killed several men. Like, confirmed. Yeah. There's no way she has not killed several men.
If she saw combat.
She was a Navy SEAL during the Iraq War, Rachel. She definitely saw combat.
Yeah, true. So the thing about Secret Service agents is that they don't get fired when there's a new president, right? Like, they typically, like, stay and roll over. So, but Amy's, like, so involved in the campaign. And, like, specifically at the end, there's, like, a scene, like, when, you know, spoiler alert, they win. When she's, like, celebrating and, like, FaceTiming her wife and everything. And I'm like, is that, like, what would normally happen? Like, I feel like as a Secret Service agent, you're supposed to stay, like, pretty neutral and not be involved in, like, the political side. Like, that's kind of the whole point.
Like, planning on retiring.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, whatever, I'm staying on for the first female president and then I'm dipping.
Yeah. Or maybe, like, the head gets rotated out. Maybe the head is more of, like, a political position.
I don't know. Well, because there's also Secret Service agents that still have to protect old presidents.
Oh,
you know
for
what
sure.
I mean? Like, old presidents still get constant protection. So maybe and like the president's kids up until they turn 18 get protection as well post White House.
That's it? Only 18?
Yeah, until they're adults.
Oh, wow.
I think, you know, it's a case-by-case basis, but, you know, like generally adult children of the president and former presidents, like, don't get certain. Anyway.
So, okay, they're at the royal wedding.
Yes.
There's a fucking delicious sounding cake. Like, I will give this to the fictional royal family. I really want some vanilla buttercream right now on, like, a yellow cake. Like, I could just taste that in my mouth when I was reading it and now when I'm telling it to you.
So could Alex and Henry.
Unfortunately for everyone at the wedding, yeah, they don't get that taste. Good buttercream. Because Alex and Henry, like, push each other into the fucking cake, and it costs $75,000 or something, right?
Because it's like a 20-tier cake. It's like a huge fucking cake, and they knock it over. So basically, Alex and Henry are nemesis. They're specifically, Alex is like, he is my nemesis. And I'm like, listen, I appreciate that the first time we see Henry and Alex interact is technically violent, but, like, I'm gonna need actual attempted murder for someone to be an arch nemesis.
No. I'm so here for you're my enemy, but, like, you don't know me at all. You don't know I exist. You don't know that you're my enemy, but you are my enemy. That's my, like, favorite.
Henry does know, because Henry's just, like, totally stoic every time they interact. And then Alex is like, every time they interact, he's like, fuck you, Henry, I hate you. And Henry's like, why are you so obsessed with me? Like, I don't understand.
The first time they actually met was at the Olympics. Alex came up to Henry. And Henry turns to his, you know, whatever, like, security people and is like, can you make him go away? Can you get rid of him?
Can you get rid of him?
And Alex hears that and he's like, what the fuck, dude? And then when he tells Henry that, like, later on, Henry's like, oh, I didn't realize you heard that. I didn't realize you heard that. Just another thing I relate to. Just, like, thinking that people somehow, like, won't perceive, like, the things you're doing.
Maybe for Henry, people just, like, pretend, like, close their ears, like, even if they can, they're like, oh, I didn't hear anything,
right?
Yeah. So Alex is not totally unjustified in, like, disliking Henry. Like, if someone did that to me, I would definitely hold a permanent grudge, like, 100%.
Yeah. There's also June's, like, really into pop magazines, and there's, like, an old one that Alex got his grumpy little 12-year-old mitts on with a picture of Prince Henry, and that's, like when it really all started. Yeah,
he was like, I saw a picture of 13-year-old Prince Henry, and he was, like, smiling and carefree, and I always wanted to touch his hair, and, like, I was just, like, stroke the picture, and, like, I didn't understand why, and, like, I even wanted to take it out of the magazine, but my fingernails were too stubby for, like, peeling back the staple. Like, oh man, boy, oh, you got it bad. And also Alex is like, the press is always comparing him to Henry, I guess because they're both, like, the younger sons of, like, world leaders. And he's like, I don't like it because, like, Henry seems, like, so perfect, and, like, I feel like I never, like, have it together. He's very upset. But then Henry and June dance, and Alex is fucking fuming. He doesn't realize he's fuming. He's just like, I don't know why I don't like that. I just don't like. He's such a smarmy little bastard. I don't fucking, like, he's absurdly jealous. And he's like, oh, he's so self-centered. Like, he's going to get pictures and he's going to start a dating rumor with my sister. And, like, I'm like, obviously she's a beard, you dumbass. Like, this man is gay. Like, she's a beard. But he doesn't know this. And he, like, locks eyes with Henry. and it's described specifically as like something like annoyance or adrenaline spikes through his chest. And I'm like, or alternatively, not annoyance or adrenaline, but love.
Arousal.
Where exactly is it spiking through? Like, are you sure it's not going lower than your chest?
Some might say.
and then he gets like super drunk. Also, I can't figure out a smooth way to put this in, but at one point June is like, what's a Viscount? Like, I don't know, I keep meeting Viscounts. And I was like, me too, June. Like, before I went to Viscount who loved me too.
Are there really that many though that should be meeting? Like, I just think it's a closed universe. Like, so they have their little quote homoerotic frat boy mishap with the cake. And the necessity, like, that's like a big like press scandal, obviously. Alex gets drunk and he's like, what is it? It's a oh my god, I just had a what's the Taylor Swift song that's like gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Oh,
but like I just feel like I don't know if it's exact yet. And Sanity to your face, because look at your face. And I just feel like there's some part of it that I can't think right now. It gives me very much the vibes of like when I get drunk I want to touch your hair. Like that's Alex right now. Like yeah.
And he's like, why do you suck so much? And Henry's like, do you ever notice that like you're the one who always comes up to me and like not the other way around? And then like Henry turns to leave and Alex tries to be like, don't turn your back on me. And then he like grabs his arm and then they trip and they fall into the cake. And they're the only ones who get to taste it.
Yeah. Well, but like if it's that many layers, like surely there's some that didn't touch the ground.
Yeah, but they're
like,
not gonna eat. Like
you're above scrounging.
Me, if I were Martha, just like running over in my like, reception dress, being like,
would not be above it.
5-second rule. One of the Viscounts like repels in from the ceiling.
Yeah, I wish we got more from Martha. Like I wanted her to like be secretly like badass.
I have hope for their future marriage because like Philip simmers down by the end of the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they can finally like start fucking instead of producing heirs.
Like Martha may finally be allowed to come.
Yeah. God.
So this causes an international incident.
And they have to do some PR work and pretend to be friends, basically. So it's going to be a fake friendship to fake love to outed love story here.
And Nora is like, two enemies forced to make peace. That's very Shakespearean. Meanwhile, Alex, like 3 pages ago, was like, I want a Shakespearean love story. And I was like, oh, that's, well, first of all, I was like, Alex, that doesn't
make a Shakespearean love story.
I was imagining like As You Like It. Like that's one of the ones that ends happily. Yeah, but Alex was like, I want a Shakespearean love story. And I'm like, you like,
do you?
That's called foreshadowing. I was like, I'm clever. Casey McQuiston, I see what you've done there.
So they have to learn like a fact sheet about each other or whatever, and it's all like fake PR shit. But we do find out that Alex's favorite summer Olympic sport is rhythmic gymnastics, which is very respectable. Like that deserves more hype.
This doesn't really come up that often, but this one part is like really funny here where like he makes lists to calm down like in his head. And he is like, I've been making them since I was a kid when I made a list of strengths and weaknesses of my elementary school classmates.
So that's what makes me think he would
you doing that, you psycho?
Yeah, like I know like this book makes us like Alex because he's like, you know, the main character or whatever, but like Alex would suck it. I'm not like he would not be he doesn't have friends for a reason. Like no offense.
Yeah, right. He constantly throughout the book he's like, have I made another friend? What is this?
I am shocked. Like, and he graduates college and he's like, all these people I've never talked to want to take my picture. Like maybe I should have talked to them. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh my god! I was like, why? What? Like for what, Alex? Why do you need to know their strengths?
What are you planning on offering careers counseling, or are you planning to challenge them to a battle royale? Like, what kind of strengths and weaknesses are we talking?
It is like kind of an elementary school thing to do because I feel like it's vaguely similar to the time in the 4th grade where like our desks in 4th grade were set up in like 4s, like so like they were all like pushed together, like facing each other, and my desk mates and I like wrote made like a nation, but we were each individual states, and like we wrote a constitution, and like I wrote like a declaration of like desk independence that I found like 2 years ago just like among my things, and like we all signed it, and I was like, it's just like the weird shit that I guess 4th graders just do, like like so I was like, maybe I shouldn't be judging Alex that much because like I did this odd thing.
Wow. Yeah. Then that's definitely something I remember being like assigned to do before, but like never being having any interest in whatsoever. Like,
You know, we did it of our own
even when I
free
did
will.
Model UN, I didn't like participate even a little bit. I just like went to
no,
Boston.
we did it. I just remembered. I just had another memory unlocked. We did it because like we would constantly like, you know, when you like, you know, put your first two fingers and you like pretend like you're walking.
Mhm.
So we would like do that, but we would like pretend to invade each other's desks and like we would like battle it out with our fingers. Like, so that's why we needed to like write the treaty and like make the rules because like we kept battling each other.
Do you remember who these people are? Like, do you think they would remember?
Yes, I remember exactly who they are. I will not say their names, but yes, they're reviewing the fact sheet, and like Nora and June are quizzing Alex, and I just want to point out that like Alex gets the majority of the answers right, and he's like, well, just because like I've done a lot of reading on Henry's Wikipedia page, like that doesn't mean anything. He knows his parents' full names, like he knows all this autobiographical information. I was like,
oh my God.
And you didn't again. And I asked, you did not realize that you were queer before now? Like from the hair picture stroking to the Wikipedia page reading, never crossed your to the later on, he's like, yeah, I you know, in like college and high school, in high school, I like hooked up with my best friend Leah. I'm like, just like what two bros just do? They just like get drunk and they make out. Totally straight.
He's like, it can't mean I'm queer because wouldn't I be like freaking out about this? Like, wouldn't I be like concerned that I was into boys? But I'm not, so I must be straight. Like,
yeah, I was like, Alex, for someone so smart, you are so dumb. No thoughts. He has 2 brain cells.
Yeah. I mean, Henry is kind of just like a celebrity at this point, so like it could just be like a celebrity obsession, you know? Like
he knows a lot about it. Like he knows very specific details. You know what I mean? That like I like Harry. I have a celebrity crush on Harry Styles, but like I don't fucking know his parents' names.
like people do, you know.
I know, but like that's usually like to crush level. You're not just like a fan, you know.
What does it mean that I know Taylor Swift's parents' names?
I always knew you had a crush on Taylor Swift. I'm just waiting for you to fully realize it.
I feel like but I don't know. I get like a weird like FOMO whenever I see like other fan accounts on TikTok because I'm like, you know so much more than me. Like I need to get to your level.
You gotta get to the level
of like the 13-year-olds who are just like have like unlimited like time to devote to this.
Me, that's what like all the fandoms that I was a member of in like middle school, like I still know like so like top tier stuff about them because I just had so much time to like really develop special interests. Now I don't. Okay, so Alex now has to like fly to England for like just a Saturday.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, I understand that this is like a PR thing, but like surely the taxpayer money should not be spent on
right. Like they're like, oh, you'll fly out on Saturday night and come back on Sunday, like for Monday classes. And like you couldn't have even left on Friday, like just to make it worth it. That's like how I don't know, when people talk about going to Europe for a week as a kid, I'd be like, how is that worth it? Like, why wouldn't you just go for a month? And then I realized that like most people's parents don't just like
don't have the summer
like which sucks. But like when you're but the weekend, like you're a college student, you can take the weekend. Like, I don't know, just weird. But they show up and they like, you know, have more little like sexual tension hissy fights.
It's at polo practice.
Yeah.
And Henry rides in on a white horse.
Oh, yeah.
It's important to note that.
Galloping around the bend on a pristine white horse. Yeah, because Alice is like, oh, I feel so gross getting off the plane. Like, I'm all jet lagged and gross. But, like, at least Henry is done with his sports practice, so he'll be gross, too. And then Henry comes galloping around the bend on a pristine white horse.
Listen, and polo outfits, they have those, like, tight pants. And, like, polo outfits are nice. Like, they're not as good as, like, baseball uniforms, but, like, they're pretty top tier, I would say.
Oh my God. And then, so then they're like, they have to take some pictures and like Alex is like, let's just get this over with. And Henry's like, I'd rather be waterboarded. Your country could probably arrange that. Alex is like, go fuck yourself. And Henry's like, there's not enough time.
Fuck me yourself, you coward.
Oh my God. So then, something we didn't say is that like Alex has to sign this like super detailed NDA to like hang out with Henry, which is not, I feel like that's not weird. I feel like it'd be very expected. But he acts as if it's so weird. He's like, oh, it's like the paperwork you'd get from some perverted millionaire who wants to hunt you for sport. And I'm like, you really expected anything else from the royal family? The royal family? And then like later on, we find out that anyone that Alex has hooked up with like ever also has to sign an NDA. Like, I don't understand.
Alex has 2 brain cells. Like, they can only really be dedicated to like breathing and like one other thing. That's why he makes the list. So he goes down like one at a time, like down. Like, all right, this is a thing I have to think about, and this. Yeah. So Alex is staying in Kensington Palace
in the guest wing, and he gets up in the middle of the night to go look for ice cream. He specifically wants helados, which is like a, I guess, Mexican brand that he used to eat as a kid, but they couldn't get it, so they only had like, quote, dumb British ice cream or something.
Which, like, I really appreciate the British food slander. Like,
well, no, because what it turns out to be is cornettos, which is very respectable, and I don't think it's actually British.
But like they make fun of beans on toast at one point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But as he's like moping that they don't have the right ice cream or whatever, a shirtless Henry comes trundling around the corner, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, like I ran out of ice cream, and I knew they'd fully stocked you, so I came to like poach your ice cream, your cornettos,"
which is great. And wait, right before Henry wanders in, Alex is FaceTiming with Nora, and Nora, like, I forget the context of this, but Nora's like, "I bet he's gay, ha ha ha," and I was like, "That's called foreshadowing." And then, like, as Henry leaves, he's like, "I didn't know you wore glasses," because like Alex only wears them in private, and I'm like, why are you so interested, Henry? Is it so you can add them to your fantasies tonight? Like, are you gonna add a little glasses play in there?
Glasses
like,
removal step? Yeah.
Like, I see what you're doing. Like, you're making sure the picture is complete. And I respect that.
And then the next day they're going to a hospital for kids with cancer. They go to the hospital, and for some reason Alex is like, oh, I bet Henry will be like super bad at this, like as if he hasn't been like literally born and bred for exactly this type of shit.
Yeah.
Like, what? And so like obviously Henry's like great with the kids, and Alex is like, why do I want you to be the daddy of my future children?
So yeah, Henry, he's like bonding them. He's like genuinely, and then he like bonds with this little girl over like their mutual love of Star Wars. I would like to call out Henry on this nonsense Star Wars take that he has. So he asked the little girl, he's like, "Who's your favorite character?" And she's like, "Princess Leia," or whatever. And she's like, "And I have a crush on Han Solo." And he was like, "Me too." For some reason, Alex doesn't realize that he's gay. Then he's like, "My favorite character is Luke, because the message of his character is that it doesn't matter who you are or what family you come from. You can be great if you just believe in yourself." And I was like, okay, first of all, that's corny. Second of all, Luke is a Skywalker. What the fuck do you mean? The whole point of his character is that he has a father who is the strongest, like most force-sensitive person in the galaxy. Like, of course it matters where he comes from. Like,
maybe Henry's thinking of it as like himself. So like his family is super powerful, but he's like, oh, they want me to be lame, but I can still be cool, even though they're. I
was like, this feels like a stretch. I was like, I feel like you should have done like my favorite character is Han. Like, he's a black sheep, but like he can be good and he can be a hero. So I was like, yeah, this feels like a stretch, and this is constantly referenced, sir. The analogy does not work. You tried, you've got the spirit, but it doesn't come through. I'm sorry.
So they're done speaking with the kids, and then right on time, there's like a security breach, and shoves them into a security closet, except instead of Uma Thurman, it's Sean, Henry's security guard. And they're like literally on top of each other.
I just want to, the reason is the kerfuffle is that like there may be a gunman. And I was like, in the UK? A gunman in this hospital in the UK sounds unlikely.
Maybe for the prince, you know.
I know, random. But like, I was like, you couldn't have picked any. You couldn't have done like a rabid fan.
It turns out to be like, quote, some stupid kids trying to bring fireworks for their friend, and they're like, "Oh, what dumbasses!" But like, your friend's in the hospital, like, and they want fireworks.
The sound implies that the fireworks went off in the hospital, Rachel. Like it's like a popping sound. Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do? Just bring them like lame boxed fireworks and not set them off? They got to see the fireworks. Come on, think about it, Allison.
But yeah, so they're in the closet together.
Yeah. And they talk more about Star Wars, and like Henry's favorite movie is Return of the Jedi, because for some reason that means he's a hopeless romantic.
This has a happy ending and
Yeah.
Ewoks. And Alex has the basic bitch opinion, being like, it's Empire Strikes Back, because that's clearly the best one.
Which one is that? Is that 5?
Yeah. It's the one where you find out Darth Vader's Luke's father, like that one. But I was like, and like, listen, I know like objectively Empire is like technically considered to be the best one. But I just like, if somebody tells me that like Empire is their favorite movie, I'm like, oh, so you don't have your own opinions. And I'm just like, it could legitimately be your favorite movie, but I am like predispositioned to judge you for being like, oh, Empire, really? You're just going to go with like what everyone else says? Sheep. And I know it's a bitchy thing to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know Empire is objectively good.
Yeah. So they get out of the closet.
Oh, wait, no. They talk about why in the closet. They talk about why Alex hates Henry. They clear up the real Olympics.
Yeah, it was. You heard that? Get him out of my sight. You heard that?
He's like, I was a dick because my dad just died. So Henry's dad, like his mom's the princess, but his dad is like a former James Bond. Basically, his dad is like Sean Connery, and he died of pancreatic cancer when like Henry was like 12, like 13 or something. Like it was very like horrible. Yeah. So Henry was like, my dad had just died like a year ago. And I was like, in general, like those like first few years, like I was just a dick to everybody. And he's like, I'm sorry. And Alex, this is your favorite moment, Rachel. Alex has a other people have emotions moment.
Oh my God.
He's like, other people have feelings? Like, wow, I did know that his dad had died right before then because of my Wikipedia page reading. But I didn't put it together that may have affected him.
Yeah. Oh my God. That didn't register for me, but like, wow, that's completely in line with Alex.
It's become part of your character, Rachel, because like you pointed out so much. Like
know.
When I heard that, I was like, let me just write that down. Like I need to mention and bring it up to Rachel.
Alex. I'm picturing Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove as Henry at this time.
They exchange numbers, and Alex is like, no booty calls, ha ha ha. And I'm me, oh, just you wait, buddy.
Yeah, I thought that was Alex like trying to testing the waters, like to see, because I still didn't realize that like Henry was the one who already knew he was gay. Like,
you give Alex way too much credit.
Like, imagine if you're Henry and you hear that, like you're like, wait a second, all my hopes and dreams. All right, like I see I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Then they just go back in the closet and start making out.
Yeah. There are plenty of like clandestine makeout scenes.
It's like every time they hang out. It's like in a broom closet.
So Alex goes back home and he starts like texting. Like they start texting all day, every day. And it's just like a nonstop onslaught of like flirting and like, just general like, teenage romance, except they're in their 20s.
There's another instance of foreshadowing where Alex is like he's like, because he's like a political science major or whatever, but he's in some sort of class that like seems to specifically deal with like presidential sex scandals, which like, where is that class and can I take it? Because I think that would be fascinating. Anyway, so he's like texting Nora and he's like, I'm in my presidential sex scandal class, and like what are the chances that one of us will end up in a sex scandal? Ha ha ha. And I'm like, oh, that's not a fun part of foreshadowing. That's sad foreshadowing. Like, oh no.
Ha ha. Funny. Yes.
But not funny.
But not funny. Ha ha. Funny. Weird.
I also would like to point out that this audiobook narrator, who was already on my last nerve, pronounced GIFs GIFs. He pronounced it GIFs. He only does it once, but it was one too many times. He also, Rachel, I would like to formally apologize to you. So, listener, Henry has a dog. He has a beagle. The dog's name is David Bowie. However, okay, the audiobook narrator pronounces it Bowie. And I remember the first time I listened to this book, I was like, this idiot pronouncing like Bowie wrong. And then like for some reason I came to the conclusion, I was like, oh no, he's a dog. It's a pun, like bow wow wowie.
Yeah.
And then Rachel texted me this time and was like, is Bowie, like, is that on purpose? And I was like, oh yeah, it's like a pun. But it's not. Because later on he says just regular David Bowie and he pronounces it Bowie. And I would just like to say, this is not one of those situations in which some people just, it's not like aluminium versus aluminum and squirrel versus squirrel. I looked up videos. I literally looked up David Bowie pronouncing his name, and he pronounces it Bowie. And in fact, there's an interview. He's British. David Bowie's British. And he has, the interviewer is like, oh, you had a daughter. You named her Zoe. So it's like Zoe Bowie. Ha ha ha. So this audiobook narrator, like, what, you just not know does he not know who David Bowie is? Like, is that what it is? He was like, who is this random musician? Ha ha. It's Bow, like Bow.
Bow, wow, wow. Thank you.
I would have accepted the dog pun. That's objectively funny.
Yeah.
But no.
Maybe, okay, maybe, you know what it is? Maybe he's ever since he was a kid, he was super into music. And so instead of like hearing people talk about, he would just like read a lot of books. You know, he was like a kid who reads a lot of books about musicians. And it's like one of those words that you see it written down and you like come up with a pronunciation in your head and then you always say it like that. Maybe he was like in a cult and his parents wouldn't let him like actually listen to any music or like hear pop culture names. So he had to like sneak books like Matilda style, like sneak in books from the library. And like even though he's been corrected as an adult, like it's never sticks. So then like this whole book, he just like
okay, but his job is pronouncing. I just love this like dramatic backstory you've created for this random audiobook.
On the fly, baby. Let's see. Ramon de Ocampo. He's an actor.
She's an
Ramon de Ocampo cult. But she ain't got no news.
Are you seriously looking up cult?
No, he was raised just outside Washington, D.C.
Doesn't mean
in Virginia.
He wasn't part of a cult.
He went to Carnegie Mellon.
That's after he escaped the cult.
He was in a movie with Maggie Gyllenhaal, which means he might have met Jake Gyllenhaal, which bad sign. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no evidence of a cult, unfortunately.
Well, there wouldn't be. Like, cults are very good at saying secretive.
That's true. Like, his biography pretty much starts at college. So, like, I mean, who's to say? It's a long time of unaccounted for time. Yeah. Interesting. Ramon, explain yourself.
Very suspicious.
Yeah.
Another R-named character with a tragic backstory is Rafael Luna, who is a gay Latino senator and Alex's BFF/role model. And they call him Luna throughout the book. I don't know why they don't call him Raph or Raphael. And he's basically like, Alex, you need friends, and also you're definitely gay. Like that's the only note I have.
And yeah, they eat Skittles together, which is nice. I would like some Skittles and buttercream yellow cake. I know. And then they have like a family dinner. Alex and June and their mom and their stepdad.
They each have to have their own pizza because apparently there was some sign of kerfuffle in like the first year of the presidency. I don't know.
Yeah. And the mom is like,
I want you to join my campaign. Alex.
Oh, yeah. She's like, I'm going to hire you guys.
Alex is like, yes, so excited. And June is like, I really want to do this.
Ever say I wanted to do this? Oh, and then so continue like to Henry and Alex texting, and a quote that something I really liked was like, Alex was like, yeah, it's so easy to talk to Henry because I like genuinely do not care what he thinks of me, so I'm just gonna be like as weird and manic as I want to, and I just like relate so hard to that. Like there's just like certain people that like I go into like being friends with them being like, I take it or leave it. Like I do not care. Like if you don't like it, you can stop responding. I'm just gonna be as like literally as weird and manic as I want to be. Like
I feel like those are the best friendships.
Yeah, like, definitely. Like low stakes. Like
you're like, I don't give a shit. Something that pops up that I just wanted to point out is that both Henry and June are fans of 2005 Pride and Prejudice, as they should be.
I miss that. He also is really into sailing, and Alex was like, I just like learned so many tedious details about sailing that I would ever care to know, and I just like reply cool 8 hours later. Which, ironically enough, Alex was just like, I'm gonna be as weird and manic as possible. I feel like that's the response you get from some people, like when it's just like when you just like info dump, and then like 8 hours later, it's just like awesome. Like
sometimes people just send me paragraphs and I'm like, I mean, this was like nice to read, like cool, but like I really don't have any like other response.
I'm always the one sending the paragraphs and getting the one word response 8 hours later. I would never just send to be completely upfront. This is yet another strike against Alex for people that I want to be around.
sometimes there's just a lot and I get overwhelmed.
Oh,
and
for
I'm
sure.
like, I'm acknowledging that I have received this, so I give it like a thumbs up, but like I never come back to it. I never
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me this, but like I don't have anything else to say in relation to it. The reactions in iMessage is really like truly one of the best things to happen.
It is. The thumbs up is like almost passive aggressive at this point. Unless you're just like, unless it's like information.
Well, it's usually just like, like for me,
to
it just means,
acknowledge
like,
you got
acknowledge.
it. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
There's more proof that Alex is definitely into men and he's like a complete fool for not realizing it earlier. Is that like at one point, like it's like they're like Nora or June is like making fun of him and like points out how he likes to watch videos of Justin Trudeau speak French. He just likes to watch it, and I'm like, Alex, you dunderhead. And I'm like, listen, I will give him points because Justin Trudeau is objectively hot. Like he's definitely one of like the top tier world leaders in terms of looks. But I gotta take points off for the French.
Do you know who Justin Thoreau is? I think that's how it's pronounced.
Isn't he Jennifer Aniston's ex-husband?
I have no fucking idea. But I made a TikTok about how I can not, like my brain can just not ever remember what Joe Alwyn looks like Taylor Swift's boyfriend. And someone commented on that, like, that's like me with Justin Thoreau. Like, I have no idea what he looks like. And I scrolled past that comment for 2 days before I realized that was a separate person, that they weren't just like misspelling Justin Trudeau. Yeah. Like, that's what.
He's like an actor, whatever. I only know him because like he and Jennifer Aniston were like married for like 2 years, and I kept seeing articles about him. But when they first did articles about him, I was like, Jennifer Aniston is dating the Canadian Prime Minister? What? Jennifer Aniston is going to be like the first lady of Canada? Like what? Like what?
Like, are we just not going to talk about the fact that their names are like 2 letters off? Like, I don't know.
We have the famous turkey pardoning, and this is really, I feel like, when they like fully like their bond is like complete. Alex finds out that so every Thanksgiving, the president pardons a turkey. I don't know what crimes these turkeys are supposed to have committed, but they pardon him. And I did know this already from the West Wing, there are 2 turkeys that are brought to Washington, D.C. And the best behaved turkey gets pardoned, and the other one gets sent off to be eaten.
What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? That's so fucked up. Oh my fucking God. That's some Hunger Games shit. What?
The best behaved turkey.
I hate our country.
This is the straw that broke Rachel's back. Like, this was the final
what?
Anyway.
I guess they gotta like help out those meat subsidies somehow. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
So Alex finds out that the turkeys are going to be housed in a 5-star hotel, and he's
like, this is
I can't
too.
allow the taxpayers.
I can't let non-human animals have anything good, nice, like as if we don't eat
their
bread.
Like, my watch. And I was like, yes, Alex, please, like when like the military budget is like tens of billions of dollars, please concern yourself over like a $500 room.
And like, what do you mean? Like, why do you think the turkeys don't deserve it, Alex? Like,
yeah, they're forced to be in their cages in his room. So Alex is like, we will put these wild animals, they're not wild, these animals in my like priceless historical room.
Yeah.
In this historic house. And then Alex, it turns out, is scared. And like they come in his room, and then he's like, I'm just now wondering in quite a worried way whether I might have made an error, because he's scared of them because they look like dinosaurs. I do understand large birds.
It's
like
true.
No dice. Like I too would also fear that they would attack me. He's like, they're going to attack me because they know that like I robbed them of a 5-star room. And I was like, as they should, Alex. Maybe you deserve to be pecked a little bit, like gobbled at.
Yeah, like you really robbed them. Yeah, I don't understand. Well, and then he's like, oh, like, what if I turn my back for a second and they like fight and kill each other? And I'm like, you are just projecting like to the extreme. Like, what if turkeys aren't the violent ones? Turkeys aren't the ones who are going to be committing like genocide for Thanksgiving. Like literally a turkey genocide. Like,
It's
Am I
true.
wrong?
Thanksgiving is a celebration of genocide.
Well, we're not trying to wipe out the turkeys. Like
No, but Thanksgiving in general, like
yes,
the origins of Thanksgiving is a
Yes.
celebration of genocide.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so he calls Henry, and they're constantly like calling each other at like 2 a.m.
Oh yeah. Which, can I just say that like the UK and Washington DC are only what, 4 hours apart, 5 hours apart?
5, sometimes 6, depending on daylight
Yeah,
savings.
but if we can communicate with our grandparents that are 6 hours apart, like with not that much trouble, like this should not be a problem. Like you don't even need to be up at 4 a.m. You could talk at 2 and 7. Like it's not
Right, but they're not. These aren't like planned rendezvous like phone calls. It's usually like Alex. It's like 10 a.m. and he calls Henry, and Henry's like canonically an insomniac. So like Henry picks up, and they're in bed, and they just have late night. So yeah, it's not like, hey, I'm gonna call you at 11:47 p.m., which is 5:47 a.m. your time. Like
yeah.
like they're not planning.
Convoluted. Yeah.
Yeah, but we also learn of the other animal. Important friends, important listeners. The other animal is his sister Bia's cat, Mr. Wobbles.
Mr. Wobbles.
Amazing name. I adore when animals are just named like Mr. Silly Word. Like I love it.
In a refreshing turn of events, David the dog and Mr. Wobbles are friends. Like they're homies. That's why like Henry's like, oh, I want to kick out Mr. Wobbles, but like he's here to play with David. So like I can't. They have a date.
I love that Henry just calls him David. Like he doesn't say David Bowie, because initially Alex like judges him for it.
No,
Alex is like, why would you name your dog David? Like what is he, like a fucking tax like guy? And I was like, listen, again, I love human names for pets. I hate names like Spot and like whatever. Like Lemonhead, name him like Jeremy. Like incredible.
No, I don't know if the dog's name is David Bowie or if it's just David after David Bowie.
No.
It's because of David Bowie, but I don't know
David
if the full
Bowie
name.
because Henry's like, his full name is David Bowie, and Alex is like, well then why doesn't you just call him Bowie? That's much cooler.
David's a great name for a beagle.
It's a phenomenal name. It's like Scott Brown.
Yeah, Scott Brown. Forgot about that. We never talked about that. It was a tweet. So we read a few years, and I
the U.S. diplomat to like Australia.
Yeah,
as a dog.
Yes, the way it was phrased was like, I wish I could remember. I bet we could find it. It was something sad. It was like about like a cat dying or something. It was like, Gracie the cat has died. Like Scott Brown has sent like, but the way it was phrased, it was like the U.S. diplomat to Australia's dog, Scott Brown. Like was whatever, and like the man's name is Scott Brown, but it sounded like they were just the dog's name is Scott Brown. I was like, it's just an incredible. Like,
I love it. Like I really want to name an animal Scott Brown.
Yeah.
But yeah, Henry talks. He like both makes fun of Alex about the turkeys and also like talks them down. Also, Henry eats Jaffa cakes.
Oh yeah, that's what Mr. Wobbles comes in to try to get. Well, our brother used to love Jaffa cakes until he had like the mold incident.
No. It wasn't mold, Rachel. Our little brother loved Jaffa cakes, which for those of you not in the know are like orange, some sort of like jelly, something covered in chocolate. Our brother would eat boxes and boxes and boxes of these things. And then one day he bit into one and there was like a worm or like a maggot in it, and he hasn't touched it since.
Oh, see, yeah, I didn't know about that until like years after. Like, I just thought he suddenly stopped liking Jaffa cakes. Oh, Allison, I found it. Wait. I don't even think it was a tweet. It was a quote in an article. Okay, wait, so it's really sad. So it's because Paddles, the first cat of New Zealand, who is like triply polydactyl, it looks like she has double thumbs. She got hit by a car and died.
No.
But the article is like, many followers and fans of the cat, including the dog of the U.S. ambassador to New Zealand, Scott Brown, shared their condolences on social media. So the way it's very ambiguous. Like the dog is Scott Brown. The dog's name is Gracie Brown, though, which is still pretty good.
Still a person name, but not as good as Scott Brown.
Poor Paddles.
Oh, I love that he was named Paddles because he had paddles for hands.
Yeah, look, he has double thumbs. He has like so 7 fingers.
Yes. Anyway, I think this is the first time they have like a random phone call because they've just been like texting and emailing up until this point.
Yeah,
like, I think this is their first phone call, and I noted that because they don't know how to hang up the phone. They don't know how to say goodbye to each other because they love each other. Also, though, every time they have a phone call, I just like they're calling each other on their cell phones, and I'm like, but what about the long distance fees? Why aren't you concerned about the American taxpayer paying for that, Alex?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. I didn't even think it's not a landline. Remember back in the day when we had that like convoluted intermediary to call Bob Vendetta so that it'd be like cheaper, like only 10
Oh
cents
yeah,
a
we had
minute
to call
instead
like
of
an
like
operator.
yeah, it was like a 17 digit like oh
Yeah.
my gosh. The turkeys are named cornbread and stuffing, by the way, which is kind of insensitive in my opinion, but I thought it was cute.
I feel like green bean. I feel like that there's like a third turkey somewhere named green bean.
Yeah. Oh, so I think it is FaceTime audio because they originally don't have like video on. And Alex is like, why don't you have your video on, you coward? And Henry's like, well, I'm doing a face mask and watching the Great British Bake Off. I was embarrassed.
And at this point, Alex still doesn't realize that Henry's gay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why like I was waiting for like Henry to yeah, I don't know.
Well, no, Henry's known he's gay. Henry never has like a crisis of coming out.
No.
Henry's known he's gay the whole time.
Gay as a maypole since the day I popped out of my mom. What's the next big thing that happens? Christmas. It's Christmas. And so
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. So Alex is like thinking about how this is just a very tangential aside, but as a kid, like his dad used to be the one who did the cooking and stuff. And he's like thinking back to like his mom like opening the oven and like being annoyed that there was like pots and pans in there, which I never thought about.
Is this what made you think of that?
Yeah. Because okay, so our family always used to store pots and pans in the oven. Like so every time you wanted to use the oven, you had to take them out. And I guess that's not something most people do. I made a talk about it. Didn't do that well, but like the people did respond. It was all like, no, like I'm Hispanic and like my whole Hispanic family and everyone I know is Hispanic, like does this. And like, I forget who it was, maybe like Korean or something. So like, is it just like an immigrant thing? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it doesn't make sense because it's like the mom's the one who doesn't cook that much. Like she makes pizza bagels. But wouldn't it make more sense for like the person who does cook to not do that because you want to be using the oven? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it seems like the kind of thing that you would do if you don't actually use your oven that much, you know? But it's definitely not as like, that's definitely not how it works.
I think it's
out.
just like a storage thing.
Yeah. So they're all having Christmas. The dad's there. They're having like one big happy family. And the dad and mom get into a fight about like the dad is also a senator. Like he's also in politics. He wants to join the campaign trail.
And the mom is like, no, we can't remind the voters that I'm a divorced woman. It polls bad.
Which, like, fair. Like, and the dad's like, they already know you're divorced. And I'm like, yeah, but there's such a thing as, like, availability, heuristic, like, you know, front and center. So, yeah, Alex has kind of, like, a meltdown. He runs away from the table and, like, goes and FaceTimes Henry. and B picks up and she's like, Henry's got his candy cane Jim Jams on. We need to start calling pajamas Jim Jams. Like,
that's a fantastic. It's like one of the few phrases that the British really like nailed, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, and during this fight, like June is like once again the parentified mediator. Like she's trying to calm everyone down, and Alex he yells at everybody and then storms off. And he was like, "Oh, I know I shouldn't have done that. That was such an asshole move." And I was like, was it though? Was it an asshole move? I don't know. It seems kind of justified. Like all he said was like, "Hey, it's Christmas. Why can't we have a family dinner without you guys fighting?"
Right.
I feel like that's a very fair request to make of your parents.
And then the next thing is the big White House trio New Year's Eve smash and bash at the Ding Dang Dog Plaza Hotel, but like at the White House. And and they do this every year. They invite like some semi-famous people, but like based on the like I don't know, the descriptions, I didn't write it down, but like the descriptions of like, who's coming, it's like the children of celebrities, like medium grade, like country singers, whatever. It seems like Prince Henry coming like will 100% be like the highest profile, like, yeah, which is weird because like, why aren't actual famous people invited to the White House? You know what I mean? Like,
I think, but here's my thing, maybe they will be, but then I'm also imagining like, I'm sure they're like, there's like the New Year's parties. First of all, there's like Times Square and there's one in LA. And so there's those. And also just imagine like famous people have probably like much cooler like, I mean, a party at the White House is cool, but like, it's probably like kind of lame, you know, like like you can't go like comparatively, you can't really go as wild.
Yeah.
I think Alex is just like not as cool as he thinks he is sometimes.
Yeah. Right. So Henry shows up with his best friend, whose name I'm blanking on right now. It's not Pez. What is it? It is Pez.
It's Pez, which is the nickname for Percy.
Yeah.
But he's like Pez, like the candy.
Yeah, Percy Okonjo, yeah. A Nigerian, like rich, very, very rich.
Rich, very flamboyant man.
Yeah. And he shows up and he's like immediately in love with June. Like, I've been begging Henry to introduce us since the wedding. And then they're all just like, living it up. Henry at one point is like, they're listening to like a song, which is obviously low. And he's like, did that man just say sweat drop down my balls? Like, you really never heard, like, it's a song called Get Low or Low, Henry? Like,
yeah.
And somehow you've never heard it, but you can still, like, immediately understand the lyrics. Like, I feel like there's, like, no song that I can understand the lyric. Yeah, like,
the only lyrics of that song I know are, like, she got them apple bottom jeans.
No, it's a different song.
It's not Shorty got low, low, low,
No,
low.
This song is to the window, to the wall, to the walls.
I didn't know that was
the sweat dropped down my balls. I don't know what it's.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, so basically, yeah, they have that whole interaction.
Oh, these bitches
also like
get low. See, you get low, get low, get low.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have to do that. We're gonna get copyright striked if we sing the whole song.
It's Lil Jon and the East Side Boys featuring the Yin Yang Twins.
Yeah. Wow. That's very early 2000s. Yeah. The first time Alex sees Henry, he's like, "Oh, it feels weird to see him in person because we are friends. Just because we are friends, it's cool to see my friend in person. My friend, my platonic friend,
and his hair in person."
Yeah. Continuing on the Get Low trend, they're like, you've never danced to this song at like an awkward middle school dance, but then Alex essentially does like the equivalent of like an awkward teenage mating dance with like Henry, where he's like twerking and like doing like he's like doing like grinding with Nora. He's like, come on, let's go. It's just like, it literally is. It's a mating dance. Like that's
yeah.
He's like a bird of paradise.
Boner
like,
to boner.
Flapping
like, right
his
there.
feathers.
Yeah. So then it's midnight and Alex and Nora they traditionally kiss on midnight just for like funsies, like stir up shit. So they kiss and then Henry gets mad. He like storms off. He just like wanders off into the crowd with this bottle of champagne.
He's an angry elf.
Yes. And then Alex like I guess goes to try to find him because he's like, oh, it was like so fun to have my friend around all night. Where's
just
my friend? Yeah. And they go on into this snowy like outdoor yard and they're just like chatting.
They're hanging out outside in Washington DC in January.
Yeah.
Like without coats.
Yeah, but to be fair, like they just came from like presumably a very sweaty dance
it's
floor.
It's like butt fuck cold in like Washington.
Yeah, but like they're all sweaty and like you need to stand there for like 10 minutes.
That's even worse. It cools you off.
Well, yeah, but you're like I don't know. You know the feeling though. You come out.
Henry's been out there for like 20 minutes.
That's
least.
true.
Like,
yeah, well, we don't know that he hasn't not taken off his peacoat this entire time. To be honest, like, it's part of his uniform. Yeah, and Henry's like, do you ever wonder what it would be like to be a normal person? And like this is like not specifically the time, but like several times throughout, Alex is like he just like gets defensive when Henry like he's like, what do you think, I'm some kind of like amateur, like I'm just as much in this as you are, Henry. But I'm like, there's a difference. Like Henry was literally born into this role. He will never be able to leave it his entire life and family, whereas like Alex, like yes, he's in the spotlight, but he had a pretty normal childhood. Like he will not always be you know what I mean? Like it's not the same at all.
Yeah, and Henry's basically just like, I have people that I want to date, but I can't do that in my position. And basically, he's like very, like all but saying the words, I'm gay and I have a crush on you. But Alex is like, what? What do you mean? What could you ever mean? Why can't you date the people you want to date? And then Henry is like pinching the bridge of he's like, oh my God, I love him. He's so handsome, but he's so stupid.
And this is literally the point that I wrote, like, wait, I can't believe Alex didn't know he was he was bi at the beginning of this. Like, dude.
2 brain cells. He didn't make a list. He can't process it because he didn't make a list.
No, dum-dum. He was too busy grinding. He should have ground pencil to paper is what he should have ground.
You know, he shook one of his brain cells loose during that grinding and it hasn't reattached itself yet.
No, it's so like freezing to death.
It's like shivering, like, oh, it's the little match girl of like fucking brain cells. Like, I only have 5 matches left. But yeah, so then Henry is like, oh my God. Okay, well, clearly words do not work with you. Clearly you are a learner by action. And so he just like kisses him. And Alex is like, in his mind. And then like kind of kisses him back. Definitely enough for them to both have tongue.
Oh, he totally kisses him back. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not like he gets over the surprise. And then Henry pulls, if we didn't know Henry was gay before, Henry pulls the gayest move I've ever seen in a book, in which he pulls away from the kiss, runs away. But not only does he run away from Alex and just go to a different part of the White House, he leaves the country.
Yes.
And then ghosts Alex.
And I'm like 100% picturing like they just get on Pez's private jet and just like zoom away and meet.
That's
like
exactly,
Pez has,
that's
like,
exactly
yeah.
what happens. That's what he says.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so... Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
None of them have any sort of self-control. They have no measured responses to anything. It's like 0 or 100.
And then Henry just like, well, and then neither of them text each other for the next like few weeks.
Henry ghosts him. Alex
they go,
like,
yeah,
hey, what
completely.
was that? And Henry just ghosts.
Yeah. And this is when Alex has his like crisis. He's like, well, like
thinking about his friend Liam.
Of course I'm straight. Yeah. Our senior year, like we got drunk and made out for an hour. And I must be straight because I didn't have a sexual crisis about that. So like obviously that has to mean I'm straight. Or me and Liam would watch porn together and jerk off. That has to mean I'm straight because if I were into guys, it would have felt scary to be with one.
No. Oh, sir. No. And he has these 2 lines, which aren't funny, but they were like more for me. This is the point where I was like, oh, where first he's like, how was he supposed to know if he wanted to look like other guys or he wanted other guys? And I was like, wow, yeah, I spent the last 15 years being like, I don't like girls. I'm just like jealous of them. Like, I just like want to look like them because they're pretty. No, but then you had that, and then you had the line where he's like, straight people, he thinks, probably don't spend as much time convincing themselves that they're straight. Yeah. And I was like, all right, that's it. Casey McQuiston has punched me in the face. And like, I'll accept it. Like, I get it. I understand now. Like, okay. And I went back, and literally when I fucking came out on my fucking Instagram was like a week after I finished this book.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, I can't, you know what, like, the theater kids couldn't do it for me, like, all the gays I was friends with in college couldn't do it for me, but, like, this book finally just, like, kicked me off a fucking cliff and was like, oh, bitch.
Yeah. And I was like, why aren't you talking to... Well, wait, Alex reaches out to Henry and Henry doesn't respond. Is that actually what happens? Because I was like, why? Because
Alex tries texting Henry like a few times. And
right,
then
okay. All right, so I missed that because I was thinking like, I feel like Alex, even if Henry is also not texting Alex, I feel like it would still be Alex ghosting Henry in this situation because the ball is kind of in Alex's court. You know what I mean? Like Henry's the one who kissed Alex and he's the one who
but Henry was the one that ran away.
Well, sure, but like
left the country.
Well, yeah, but like, because I don't know, he went out on a limb and he's like, doesn't want to.
But he ran out. He didn't even wait for a response.
Yeah.
And then left the country. And he's like, sorry, a family emergency. Sir. And then Alex makes bringing back to the lists. He makes a list of all the men he's found attractive. And he's like, wow, I can't believe I didn't realize.
And he's like stewing over this at work. And like he goes to ask Nora, who was bi, what she thinks. And basically Nora's like, oh, like, wait, I thought we like already knew about this. Like, are you... Yeah, I was confused what you're asking.
She's like, wait. Are you coming out to me? Oh, okay. I thought we were past it. Okay, like, let me rewind. Let me like, you know...
Nora's like, you've been Draco Malfoy level obsessed with Henry for years. Like, you...
Like, what the fuck do you mean? And she's like, of course Henry is gay. And like, Alex is like, no, I see pictures of him. Like, he's dated women. And Nora's like, yeah, because he's a fucking Prince of England.
Like, have you noticed that there's pictures because they're always photographed? Like,
don't you know that, like, most of the times when celebrities are photographed, like, they call the paparazzi on themselves. Like, you know this, sir, as someone who is in the tabloids.
She's like, you've literally been like, you've had this like schoolboy crush on Henry. Like, you literally know his sleep schedule. Like, like what?
and then Alex calls Liam, his aforementioned best friend in high school. Yeah. And he's like, did we have a thing in high school? And Liam was like, I'm on a date with my boyfriend right now. Are you sincerely asking me this question? And Alex is like, okay, message received. Goodbye, Leo.
He's like, all I can tell you is that I acted like the stuff we did back then wasn't gay, but it was super. It super was. Like,
two bros sitting on a bed watching porn because they're not gay. Like,
yeah, making
giving
out.
each other hand jobs, like literally masturbating mutually.
I feel like somehow the making out feels even more like what? Like what? What are you talking about?
Like what? So, oh, we just got drunk and we just had a little fun. Alex.
So then they have their next like bro friend appearance, like to quote unquote pretend to be friends for the media.
No. Henry arrives at a state dinner.
Yeah.
But that's not like a specific friend.
Oh, okay. And they're still not talking, but Henry walks in and Alex is like, his suit is so reserved and elegant and perfect. I just want to rip it off. Grr. Like, and then he's like talking and we get another, it's just like in How to Find a Princess. Like Alex is like, ooh, I just hate the way the word curves around his accent. Like, I don't even like British accents. I just like Henry's British accent.
Which, I forgot to mention, like, the audiobook narrator, as we've gone ad nauseum, has a lot of faults, but he does have a decent British accent. For like an American audiobook narrator, I was like, oh, he has a pretty decent accent. Like, it's not like Royal Holiday terrible.
Oh, no.
I was like,
I didn't even think of that.
Good for you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a hallmark that I didn't even like notice. Like, that's how you know.
Right.
Only time I noticed him doing an accent was at the very end. Like, Henry does a fake American accent for like one word, and that's the only time that stood out to me. So it's like, yeah.
So this audiobook narrator can even do like British person doing a fake American accent.
Yeah.
Well, like it sounds like there's like a distinct like British person doing American accent.
The very like nasal, yeah. So Alex is like, Henry looks like he's about to make a run for it. I'm not above a flying tackle.
I'm like, that's just an excuse to touch Henry, Alex.
Right,
like, don't pretend like you just don't want to like roll on the floor with him.
Yeah.
Alex is like, Henry looks like he's about to dip, and I know how fast he can leave the country, so I can't let that happen. So he's like, we're going to go and literally to the next room because my Secret Service agents won't let me go any farther. And we're going to talk. And like, he just like pushes Henry against the wall, against priceless antique furniture, and they start making out. And then this begins our many, like, you can tell that Casey McQuiston was writing this when like Hamilton was first like really big, like Hamilton the musical, because there are so many Alexander Hamilton is
100%,
that it's like insane. But so they start making out against a picture of Alexander Hamilton, who you all know is our favorite bisexual founding father.
Yeah, they make all these references about like things about Hamilton from like that they knew like way back when. And I literally remember thinking like, wow, it's so interesting that they were so into Alexander Hamilton like before the musical even came out.
No, they even reference the fucking Alexander Hamilton biography that the musical is based on. They're like, the Ron Chernow biography.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right. Like, but
I'm like, all right, Casey, let's simmer down here.
Yeah.
But and then they have to like, they hear people start coming into the room, and Henry has an erection, and he has to hum God Save the Queen in order to lose his erection because it's his grandma.
My God. And so Alex is like, you are gonna come to the West bedroom on the second floor tonight, and if you fucking ghost me again, I'm gonna get you put on a fucking no-fly list. And like, what a threat. Like, that's no joke. Like, you do not want to be, that's like getting banned from TikTok times 1,000, because you have no recourse. Like, you will never find out. They will never tell you why. I know they're technically like supposed to now, like sometimes, but like it will not happen. And you will just never be able to fly again. I guess, like, I mean, does that apply to private jets? Like, Alex has his, like, Thirsty Conjo situation.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a threat. No-fly lists are no joke, my dude.
Yeah. That's, like, the one perk, I feel like, of being, like, the child of the president, honestly, is, like, that you would probably be, like, the only person in the country that could actually get off the no-fly. Like, once you're put on.
You'd just never be put on the no-fly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. God.
Like,
So fucked, yeah.
definitely wouldn't let you around your parent, the president, if you were on a no-fly list.
God. What, they would just like, what would they do? Like, just...
Well, that's why they wouldn't put you on the no-fly. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if they put you on the no-fly list, like, you're not going near the president.
Yeah. Henry takes the threat seriously, as he should, and he shows up. And Alex is like, he's like, it's been almost 5 years of foreplay. Like, enough is enough. And he's like, I've done the research. I've seen the diagrams. I can do this.
They give each other blowjobs.
Yeah. And I literally was like, wait, so Henry's had sex before? Like, how did I totally misremember this as Henry being the one who had to realize he was gay and like not having any experience?
Henry's had sex. The first time he had sex was with one of Philip's college friends.
Yeah.
Like, we find that out like,
later.
Like, it's a little tidbit later.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's like, it's through
like,
Philip. And it's funny because at one point before that, Philip is like, you always used to hang out with me and my mates, like, who are manly men. Like, why can't you hang out with more of them instead of, like, flamboyant Pez?
Yeah,
and I'm like, interesting. Henry lost his virginity to one of your manly men friends.
Yeah.
Philip is just, he's horrible. But also has been, like, manipulated a lot by the grandma who just like sucks the girl. There's like no redeeming qualities.
The queen is the villain of this book. Yeah,
she truly is. Well, the queen, and then also like the Donald Trump parallel, Richards, who is like the Republican nominee.
Oh yeah, true.
So like he's Donald Trump. There was a lot of like American politics parallels. Like there was like when he was talking to Rafael Luna, like there was definitely like a Bernie Sanders parallel. It was like he's like an independent and like like this old man. I was like,
yeah. So
now they're boyfriends.
Yeah, we find out that Henry, I don't even know if I want to put this in here, but he laughs when he comes apparently, which maybe that's kink shaming. I don't know what that is. It's just fucking weird. I don't know.
I cannot think of this. Okay, I've definitely seen that in another book, and it wasn't this book because it's distinctly a het book because the guy is like, oh, she laughs when she comes, and I like that. So it's a thing. It's not a thing I've experienced, but I feel like we should stop here. So Alex and Henry are now secret boyfriends. Tune in next week for how they're going to manage to be secret boyfriends and also have an international relationship and then get outed. And also for more Mr. Wobbles mentions, the cat. Yeah, cat scale next week. So Rachel, where can they find us?
On Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
TikTok.
And TikTok. I couldn't remember what the third. Oh, because I blanked TikTok out of my mind because of the
trauma.
Yeah. At We Read It One Night at those three. Twitter is at We Read It Podcast. Gmail, if you want to email us suggestions, thoughts, literally anything, that's we read it one night at gmail.com. And you can also leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. If you would like to reference this particular episode in your review, what can they put, Allison?
Tell us which founding father / U.S. historical person besides Alexander Hamilton do you think is most likely to be queer? My vote is Franklin Pierce.
My vote is Benjamin Franklin because I just found out that
he was queer, like confirmed.
Yeah, he wrote an ode to his dead pet squirrel. Apparently, I found this out recently. Apparently, squirrels were extremely popular pets in the American Revolutionary period. And Benjamin Franklin's squirrel, he was apparently well traveled, like in the ode. Like that's the quote is like, wait, let me find it. He was killed by a dog.
Oh.
His name was Mungo. I lament with you most sincerely the unfortunate end of poor Mungo. So few squirrels were better accomplished, for he had a good education, had traveled far, and seen much of the world. As he had the honor of being for his virtues your favorite, he should not go like common scugs, without an elegy or an epitaph. Let us give him one in the monumental style and measure, which being neither prose nor verse, is perhaps the properest for grief. Since to use common language would look as if we were not affected, and to make rhymes would seem trifling in sorrow. This is the start of the eulogy. Alas, poor Mungo, happy were thou, hadst thou known.
This is the start of the eulogy?
Yes, that was just the intro. Happy wert thou, hadst thou known thy own felicity, remote from the fierce bald eagle, tyrant of the native woods. Thou hast not to fear for his piercing talons, not from the murdering gun of the thoughtless sportsman. Safe in thy wired castle, Grimalkin never could annoy thee. Daily wert thou fed with the choicest viands of the fair hand of the indulgent mistress, but discontented thou wouldst have more freedom. Too soon, alas, didst thou obtain it, and wandering, fell by the merciless fangs of the wanton, cruel ranger. Learn hence, you who blindly wish more liberty, whether subject sons, squirrels or daughters, that apparent restraint may be real protection, yielding peace, plenty, and security. You see how much more decent and proper this broken style, interrupted as it were by sighs, is for the occasion, than if one were to say by way of epitaph, here Scug lies snug as a bug in a rug.
Oh my god. I think my favorite part of that was the part where Benjamin Franklin put daughters and squirrels on the same level.
Yeah, subject sons, squirrels, or daughters.
I mean, the whole thing was fabulous.
Is the lesson like don't yearn for freedom? I guess it's like curiosity killed the cat is what it is. And as it were.
It?
Kind of. Yeah, it's like it's like he wanted freedom and he got it by getting eaten by a dog.
No.
So
now he's in little squirrel heaven. Related to this podcast, Benjamin Franklin created the first free public library in the United States.
Wait, I skipped over some of the footnotes, but
Rachel, it was sorry. Long. It was so
sorry.
We can link it. We'll link it below.
Wait, I would just like to note that if you are trying to refer to squirrels generally, they apparently should be known as common scugs, which is the name by which all squirrels are called here, as are all cats are called puss.
Let's bring that back.
Scugs. Puss and scugs.
Well, puss I feel like is still around, but like not. Yeah, bring back Scug. Scug, bug in a rug. He had the whole like random like children's
bug in a rug. Yeah, here's Scug as a bug in a rug.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, so mine is Franklin Pierce and Rachel's is Benjamin Franklin. Let us know which American founding father and/or the person, a founding person of your own country you think was probably gay. Let us know in your review. Or just DM us if you don't have Apple Podcasts because, I'm just interested in everyone's answers. And send us recommendations for books you want us to do.
I would just like to note that Benjamin Franklin was 67 years old when he wrote that. This was no youthful.
No, he was absolutely feral into the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't write that kind of poetry as a young man. Like that's the type of talent that comes with age.
Yeah.
He'd already fucked his way through France by then.
Syphilis makes some people go crazy and it gives other people powers.
Superpowers from syphilis. Anyway, on that note, Godspeed,
comrades.